Imagine a group of bricks, each sturdy and strong on its own, but scattered, lying apart, vulnerable to the slightest push. Yet, when joined together with mortar shaping the wall, these very bricks become nearly unbreakable. This is the story of unity, a powerful force, not just in building walls, but in forming communities, churches, and hearts. Just as in the animal world, where wolves and dolphins rely on the strength of their groups, humans too naturally gather together. In churches, in families, in teams, we long for connection, but sometimes cracks form. A clique here, a rivalry there. Arguments arise over whose way is best, whose group to join, even which leader to follow. Paul, writing to the early church in Corinth, saw these cracks growing. Some said, "I follow Paul." Others, "I follow Apollos or Cephas." The church, rather than being one body, was in danger of splitting apart, each faction convinced they knew best. Paul's plea echoes across the centuries. Let there be no divisions among you, but be united in the same mind and judgment. Why does this matter so much? Picture surgeons arguing over who should hold the scalpel, ignoring the patient. Or rescue workers stranded by disagreements while help is needed. Disunity can turn purpose into chaos, care into competition. Paul used words like division and contention, and warned that these, listed alongside envy and strife, are threats to spiritual health. But unity in the church does not mean everyone is the same. Imagine a body, hands, eyes, feet, all different. Unity is not uniformity. Rather, it is harmony. Hearts diverse, roles unique, but moving together with one heart, one spirit. Paul rooted this vision not in humans, but in Jesus Christ, the head, the foundation, the reason for our coming together. So, how do we move from division to unity? Paul points to spiritual maturity. He likens spiritual infants to those caught up in rivalry. Maturity means seeking the wisdom of God, understanding that true leadership is never about exalting personalities, but about serving with humility. Christ himself, though equal with God, chose to humble himself as a servant, even to the point of death. To have the mind of Christ is to value others above ourselves, choosing sacrifice and service over pride. Ask yourself, what happens when church becomes a contest of whose leader is best, or whose group holds the power? It breeds competition, resentment, and often bitterness. But Christ-like leadership looks different. It's a stewardship, a trust, a calling to care. Paul and others endured hunger, hardship, persecution, all for the sake of serving others and building God. What about small groups? They can be sources of support and spiritual growth if they remain open, inclusive, never becoming exclusive cliques. When groups focus inward, turning away from the wider body, unity erodes. But when they reach out, welcoming others, learning together, the whole church is strengthened. In the end, Paul's message is clear. Unity rooted in Christ is a living testimony to the world. When believers support, forgive, and love one another, despite differences, Christ is revealed. His prayer was that all may be one, reflecting the unity between himself and the Father. Such unity breaks down barriers, silences doubt, and draws others to the truth. So, which will you build? A loose pile of stones, or a strong, living wall? The call is to set aside rivalry, pride, and self-seeking, and to pick up the trowel of servant-hearted love. In doing so, the community, your community, becomes a place where Christ's presence shines, inviting all to experience the fullness of unity in Him.